All right, welcome to Office Skills Training. This is a special video dealing with the issue of having our kiddos being tested for COVID testing. There's a company that's been hired by the district to get all the names of those students that need to be tested a couple times a week. And so what they're doing is they're preparing an Excel spreadsheet with the names of all the students to be tested and sending them to the school. The problem is that when the school sites are getting these, and we've had to deal with this a couple times, they're sending a list of students that does not include the teacher name or the room number. And in some cases, there are just errors on that spreadsheet where they might have misspelled names. Sometimes parents are entering the student more than one time. Sometimes parents are confused and they're actually entering their own names. And so those spreadsheets that are coming to the school sites are confusing, and we have a lot of individuals that are trying to figure out how to get a clean list of all of the students to be tested that includes the teacher name and the room number of each one of those kiddos. And so this video is being produced from the training department for you if you are one of those responsible for coming up with a clean list with the teacher names on it, so that you can more easily send out a list to each teacher of all the students that are going to be tested. So to do this, I've created an example spreadsheet that has information on it. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what that looks like right now. So there are 3 tabs on this workbook, and we're just going to call this Student COVID Testing List. It's just a practice list. So the first one, we're going to pretend that this first sheet here is a list of names from the testing company. So a parent has gone online, they said, okay, I need my kiddo tested or want them tested, and they've entered some basic information for that student. And then the testing company has created this spreadsheet and has sent it to the school. Well, as you can see, it has last name and first name and a birth date and gender. Certainly doesn't have the teacher name or the class number for each one of these students. So that's kind of the problem. Let's take a look at this real quick. How many are on this list to be tested that we got from the testing company? If we scroll down here, we can go down to about 150 or so, and we'll see that we have Rocky Winthrop as our last student. And since we have a header at the top, that means we have 144 students in our example right here that need to be tested. So how many do we have actually at the school site? We'll see that in just a second. But since we're doing this, I'm going to go all the way back up to the top. A real easy way to be able to keep the headers at the top is just to select the row name, in this case, row 1. And then we can go to the View tab. And then once we get over there to the View tab, we move this zoom thing out of the way. We go to Freeze Panes, we click on that, and it says Freeze Top Row. So that way, now when I scroll down, we can still see the header at the top. So that works pretty good. So let's go take a look at our complete student list. So again, this is just a pretend school. And so we have a list of some 200 students that go to this pretend school. And as you can see, they have more information here, including the teacher name and the room name. Your spreadsheet might look different, but the exercise that we're going to do today to be able to add these names together into one single sheet and make sure that all the kids are going to be tested, we have their teacher name and room number. This will work for our purposes. So again, if we want to make this list such that the headers at the top don't move, I've already done that on this one. You just select the entire row name, in this case, row 1, go to the View tab, go to Freeze, and then Freeze Top Row, which again, I have done that already. So there you go. That way, when we're scrolling down, we can see the headers for all of this. So how many students are in this complete student list at this pretend school? Well, let's grab that and bring it down. So we had 144 that are to be tested out of, looks like Rocky Winthrop, our last student there, 201 minus the header. So that means we have 200 students here at our pretend school. All right, so at this point, I'm just going to zip all the way back up to the top. And so the idea is we want to have a complete list with the teacher names of all those to be tested. So again, on the list that we got from the testing company, they did not give us the names of the students with their teacher names and the teacher or the classroom numbers. they just sent us this list. And so we're going to create a new tab here that has all of that information on it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to the complete student list right here. And I want to select all the data, all 200 students with all of the different columns. And the fastest way to copy that is to go up here between A and 1 and click. And now you can see everything's been selected. And so then I can just right click somewhere and say copy. And then go here to our to be tested with teacher's name. This is where we're going to scrub and clean up the list. I just go up here and right click and go ahead and say paste. And so now at this point, I'll just click away to stop selecting everything. I have exactly the same thing on both of these different tabs here. All right, let's just double click here to stop that. So, but again, we want to be able to have just those that are going to be tested. And so we're going to figure out how to do that right now. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to create something that's similar on both of these lists. So here we have to be tested. We have last name and first name, and then the final one that we're going to produce, it says first name and then last name. So we're going to want to put an extra column in here. And how do we do that? We're just simply going to right click at this point and then left click on insert. And so all of these columns with the data moves to the right. And I'll just click up here and I'm just going to write full names. There we go. And so I want to now put last name, comma, space, full name. So I can certainly use the concatenate formula or function in a formula to figure that out, but we're going to use something called machine learning. It's a form of AI to do it a little bit faster, and it's actually quite simple. So how is it we're going to do that? Well, since we have our little space selected here, the last name that we have there is Acosta. So I'm just going to type out Acosta. And you want to make sure that the spelling is exactly right. So Acosta, that's correct. I did a comma and then a space, and then I want to do the first name, Sabah. So again, before I hit enter at this point, and I haven't hit it yet, you can see the cursor is blinking there. I want to make sure I haven't misspelled anything. Yes, I did add a comma and a space, and then, so it's last name, comma, space, first name. That's the format that I want, so we're good. It's spelled the same. So I hit enter, and I'm going to start the next last name, and I start to spell it out. And as soon as I hit the A, it says, oh, is that what you want? So that's machine learning, artificial intelligence, trying to figure out what you want. But actually, that's not what we want. We want the next name, even though they share the same last name. So let's see. So then I do the comma and I do a space. And so then the next name starts with a C, Camilla. So as soon as I hit that C, it says, oh, is that what you're trying to do? And sure enough, that's exactly what I want. I want in this column D to have the last name and the first name put in the last name, comma, space, first name. So all I have to do now is just hit enter. And there it is. And you can see some of the names don't fit. So I go up here between columns D and E, and I hold it real steady in my mouse, and I double left click. And now column D is wide enough to accommodate the largest name or data set that we have in there. So now we have a column that says full names, last name, comma, space, full name. Our last name, comma, space, first name. All right, so we want to do that in our to be tested list. We don't have that yet. So again, even though they put last name here and then first name, we're going to want to put both of them together. So I just right click on column C and I say insert, and then just click up here and I just want to type in just to keep track of it. All right, and so we do the same thing with machine learning. So last name is Acosta. I put a comma and a space and Sabah. And before I hit enter, just want to make sure I spelled everything right. Yep, got it. So I hit enter. And what's the next last name? It also starts with an A. It still thinks that we're trying to do the same name, but we're not. As soon as we get to here and I do the capital C, then it recognizes the new pattern. That's what we want. I just hit enter. There it is. So now I can go up here between columns C and D and double click. And now I have room to see all of that. Well, there we go. So here's all the to be tested students. I now have a list of those students in the similar formatting to over here where to be tested. And so now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to add some names together here, and then we're going to find duplicates, and we're going to get rid of some of the unique ones, and we're going to do that just one step at a time. So if we go back here to the to be tested, all right, and if we scroll, we got a couple ways we could do this. I don't want the header, I don't want to copy that, but I do want to copy all of these names that are right here, because these are the 150 or so that are going to be tested. So I left click on the very beginning one, and I drag down, and I just kind of hold it there till I get to the bottom. There's Rocky Winthrop, that's the last one. So again, these are those that are to be tested. And I'm going to right click and copy it. All right. And then I'm going to go over here to the to be tested. And we're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. All right, there's Rocky there. And I'm going to right click in the next cell. And I'm just going to say paste. All righty. So here's where we started. Just double click to make that go away. All right, so there's a list of all the students that are going to be tested, okay, with no teacher names. And now we've added that to the list of all of the students. We can see Rocky Winthrop with his teacher name, and also class number is right there. And if we scroll down to the very bottom, we'll see that we have his name there. So he's one of the ones that are going to be tested, but we don't have that other information. So what's the next thing that we're going to do at this point? So the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to, there's several different ways that we can do this, but let's go ahead and at this point, and we're going to sort column D, A to Z. So here we go. So we just go up here to the Home tab ribbon. We go over here to the sort and filter, and we just say sort A to Z. And so we always get this warning that says, hey, expand the selection. Yeah, we've got information to the left and to the right of column D. So you want to make sure that we keep that information the same. So absolutely, we want to do that. All right. So now let's take a moment to see what it looks like. So you can see now that Camilla Costa is listed twice. Once with the data to the left and right, including teacher name and the room number, and then one time without. Well, the reason is because Camilla is going to be tested. So because we had copied it from the to be tested list and added it to the complete student list of all those in the school, now we have doubles in some cases. But there's others that don't have doubles. Those are the ones that are not going to be tested. So at this point, there's a couple ways we can go, but we're just going to select all of column D, which I've done just right here by clicking on column D. And then what I'm going to want to do is do some conditional formatting. So I go over here to conditional formatting, highlight cell rules, and go down here to duplicate values. So now by default, it's made every duplicate name in here a red background with red lettering. We could certainly leave it that way if we want, but just to make it easier to see what we're working on here, we're going to go ahead and do a custom duplicate value. So instead of light red fill with dark red text, I'm going to go down here to custom format. Let's see what our options are. So here we are. We're going to switch from the font to the fill tab. And then to make it easy to see, we're just going to highlight all of those that are duplicates in this case with this bright yellow color here. So go ahead and say OK. And custom format, duplicates, all bright yellow. Yep, that'll work. So there we go. So now we have all of the duplicates are in bright yellow, or stated differently, everything that's in yellow are the students that are going to be, that need to be tested. And why are the rest of these not yellow? Because there are no duplicates. Or stated differently, if we don't have a duplicate, those are the students that are not going to be tested, because since we added the two lists together. So before we go any further, we want to, again, make sure we have selected column D, and we're going to do some more custom formatting. But this time, instead of duplicates, we're going to do unique names. And so to do that, with column D selected, we go up here to conditional formatting, and the same thing, we go to highlight cell rules, and the little drop-down menu comes, and duplicate values. So again, by default, it's saying duplicate, and it's making light red fill with dark red text. But if we look over here, there's a more button, and look at that, unique. So what we're going to do, we've already selected all of the duplicates to be yellow. Now we want all of the unique names, those that are not going to be tested. We want them to look a little bit different. We could just leave them like this, but since we're practicing here, let's go down to custom format. And we're already on the fill tab because we were there just a moment ago. I'm just going to select a light bluish gray color right there so it stands out. And I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to click OK here. And there we go. So now all of the ones in blue are not going to be tested. All the ones that are in yellow are. Why is this up here blue? Well, that's a unique full names, the header in this case. It stands out as unique. It's not duplicated. Since we selected make everything blue, that's unique. We did it that way. So at this point, let's get all of the ones that we're not going to test, or the blue-gray color, at the top. And to do that, we're just going to make sure we have selected column D, all of that. And then we're going to want to go over here to the sort and filter, and we're going to want to do a custom sort. All right, so again, it's saying, hey, you're about to sort column D, or some of the things in column D. What about the stuff to the left and right? Expand the selection? You bet. We just say sort. All right, so because we already had column D selected, it's already saying we're going to be selecting, we're going to be sorting by column D. Let's just real quick look at the other options. So student number, first name, last name, full names. Here's all of the options. That's the names of all of the headers in these various columns. But again, we want full names, so we're going to leave it on that. So how can we sort? We can sort by values. Maybe there's numbers in there or letters or something like that. For our purposes, we're going to want to do cell color since we've got blue and we have the yellow as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just say cell color. And at this point, it says no cell color on the top. I don't want that. I'm going to click here, the more button. I'll say, let's put all of the blue ones, or stated differently, all those that are not going to be tested, the unique ones, let's make those all go to the top so we can deal with that a little easier. So we say, okay. And now everything is moved around. And so the 150 or so students the 150 or so that we're going to test, there's about roughly 50 that aren't going to be tested. Those are the ones that are blue, the unique names that are there at the top. So at this point, we want to get rid of all of these students with their data to the left and to the right, because we just want to have the ones that are duplicated, because those are the ones we're going to test. So we're going to go down here to this, the last unique name, which is Matthew Thomason. And we left click on the row name, in this case 57, and left click and drag, and I'm dragging it to the top. I'm going to go all the way to the top, but I don't want to include the header. So I just come back down to 2 and I let it go. And now all of those are selected. At this point, I can go over here to the delete category, and I can delete the selected cells. And so those are all gone. All of the blue ones that were unique are now gone, and all we have are the duplicated ones. And again, remember those was roughly about 150 or so down there, but because they're still duplicated, that's twice as many, kind of hard to tell right now. And we see right here that full names is still blue. That's okay. We still have the unique name or the unique cell formatted in blue. That's okay. So at this point, what we're going to want to do in here is make sure that the column D is selected. I just clicked on column D, and this time we want to remove all of the duplicates. And so to do that, we then, with column D selected, go up here to the Data tab ribbon and move something out of the way here. Over on Data Tools, we have the Remove Duplicate button here. Let's go ahead and click on that. Let's try that again. All right, so it's saying again, hey, you've got data to the left and the right. What do you want to do? You want to expand the selection? You bet. Remove the duplicates. And so at this point, it's saying, so what are all the columns that you're looking at? Well, we only want to look at, I'm going to unselect all of these, and I'm just going to go to where it says full names, and my data has headers. That's important. All right, and I want to remove the duplicates in column D or full names. So I click OK. All right, so it says 201 duplicate values found and removed, 145 unique values remain. All right, that sounds good. So let's go ahead and say okay. Actually, I'm going to write that down. Okay. 145 unique ones remain. All right, so I say okay. And so now, if we look, and sure enough, we're down to 145 or so, and they're all blue. Why are they blue? Because we still have column D has a special conditional formatting going on. So go back here to the Home tab ribbon, make sure column D is selected. I can go here to conditional formatting, and I can go down to here where it says clear rules, and I'm going to clear the rules from the selected cells. I could use the next one, the entire sheet, but since I have column D selected, we'll just clear that. All right, so now we're back to normal. So again, there we have, let's go ahead and freeze this real quick. I'm going to select all of row 1, and I'm going to go to view, and then go here to freeze panes and freeze top row. So how many students do we have? Let's go all the way down here. We've got 145 minus the header. So that means we have 144 students that need to be tested. And more importantly, we have the teacher name and the room number that belongs to each one of these. And so if we go back to the original to be tested worksheet that they gave us, sure enough, minus the header, we have the same number, 144 students altogether. And so again, we have all of these names, but we don't have the teacher and the room number. So all we did was create a new column to where we had this format that was going to be the same as our to be tested one. And we went and made a copy of the complete list of all the students in the school. We pasted it onto this to be tested with teachers' names. And then of course we did the same thing that we did before. We made sure we had a column that was similar so that when we copied all of the full names, last name, comma, space, first name out of the to be tested, and we added it to the list here, then all we had to do was isolate the unique ones and the duplicates and get rid of them. And then we came up with just those that are going to be tested, in this case, 144. So at this point, what would we do next? Well, now that we have the complete list with the teacher name and the room numbers and all that, we could do some filtering by the room number or by the teacher name. So let's go ahead and just select over here, column G, and then I'm going to go back to the Home tab ribbon. And if we go over here to sort and filter, I want to actually add a filtering tool to here. So I'm going to click on that, and we see that we now have this little filtering tool. So I can simply click on this, and the first box here is select all. Let's just go ahead and click on it, deselect it. And so let's look here. So here's some students from our pretend teacher, Ilani Musk. If we click on that one and we say okay, so now here's all of the students that go to Ilani Musk's class, and there they are with their names and everything. We can simply make a copy of this and send it out to that particular teacher in room 10, and then that teacher knows that these are the students that need to be sent to testing. And of course, we can go back and maybe we don't want to select that one. Maybe down here, Sammy Davis, that's the one we want to do next. And so here's all of the students in Sammy Davis's classroom in room 8 that need to be tested. We can send it out that way. And so with this complete list, we can do as many as we need to. Here's Sally McCallie one more time, and we could sort it that way. Here's all of the students in Sally McCallie's class, and so we have it scrubbed. So that is one way to be able to take a list of students that we have that need to be tested that don't have the necessary information, in this case, the teacher name and the classroom number. And then by making a copy of the complete list on a new spreadsheet, we then can go in there and add those names together, get rid of the unique ones because those are the ones that aren't going to be tested. And then all of the doubles that we have at that point, we simply get rid of the duplicates, and what's left over are those students that need to be tested. So there you go. Hopefully this will help you, this generic video with these pretend students at a pretend school. Again, just one of several ways that you can actually deal with those spreadsheets that are coming from the testing company. And again, just remember, when you get the list from the testing company on those spreadsheets, sometimes we have 3 or 4 times a parent has entered in the name of a student. So we just have to keep that in mind. But when you get rid of duplicates, it will get rid of not only doubles, but triples and quadruples. That'll be fine. But they might have other names that are in there, like their name or something, and that might be part of the list. And so since those will end up being unique, they're not on the complete student list, they will also get tossed out. So you should be able to end up with a pretty clean list by following this these tools that we've just done, these features in Excel. So hopefully that helps, and you'll have a wonderful day. Thank you.